My insensitive girlfriend sold my grandfather's classic Shelby to her unemployed sister for $200, dismissing it as that old relic. When she refused to return it, I got the police involved and asked my girlfriend to leave. My life used to be refreshingly uncomplicated: work, home, and my 1967 Shelby GT500. I'm Cameron, 38, a marine biologist based in Monterey. That Shelby wasn't just some classic car, it was my grandfather's masterpiece. We restored it together throughout my teenage years, him teaching me about engines and life in equal measure before cancer took him away. Every time I pulled back the cover in my garage, it felt like he was still there, guiding my hands with his weathered wisdom. Alicia, my girlfriend of 3 years, never understood its significance. She'd dismiss it as that old relic whenever I'd talk about the restoration process or share memories of my grandfather. I foolishly believed it wasn't necessary for her to understand its importance to me, just to respect that it mattered. I gave her too much credit. Her older sister Vanessa became an increasingly problematic presence in our lives. At 42, she embodied entitlement, chronically unemployed, constantly borrowing money with vague promises of repayment, and frequently imposing herself on our hospitality after burning bridges elsewhere. Alicia maintained a peculiar blindness when it came to Vanessa, always ready with excuses and second chances for her misunderstood sister. 6 weeks ago, I traveled to San Diego for a 3-day marine conservation conference. Everything seemed normal when I left. Alicia was planning a quiet weekend catching up on her reading. When I returned Sunday evening, I immediately sensed something was off. The house felt different somehow. Call it intuition, but I headed straight for the garage without even unpacking. The space where my Shelby should have been gaped empty. For a moment, I stood frozen, unable to comprehend what I was seeing. Panic surged through me as I checked for signs of forced entry, wondering if someone had stolen it. Finding none, a terrible suspicion formed in my mind. I found Alicia in our living room, casually browsing through a magazine. My voice shook as I asked about the car. Without even looking up, she replied, "I sold it to Vanessa. She needed reliable transportation, and that car was just collecting dust. She gave us $200 for it, not bad for something so old." The world seemed to tilt beneath my feet. "You sold my grandfather's car? The Shelby? For $200? I could barely form the words. She finally looked up, her expression completely untroubled. "Come on, Cam. That car was ancient. You hardly ever drove it, and Vanessa actually needs a vehicle. It's practical." The rage that swept through me was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. "That car is worth over $100,000, Alicia. But more than that, it was the last connection I had to my grandfather. It wasn't yours to sell." She shrugged, as if we were discussing a minor household decision. "Vanessa really needed it, and it was just sitting there." "Don't be so dramatic." "It's not just a car," I said, my voice dangerously quiet. "Where's Vanessa now?" Alicia gave me an exasperated look. "Probably at her apartment in Pacific Grove, but you need to calm down." "It's done." I left without another word, driving to Pacific Grove with my heart pounding against my ribs. There it was, my grandfather's pride and joy, parked carelessly on the street in front of Vanessa's apartment building, already showing signs of neglect. When Vanessa answered her door, she wore a smug expression that made my blood boil. "I'm taking the Shelby back," I stated flatly. She leaned against the doorframe with infuriating casualness. "No can do, Cameron. I bought it fair and square. Alicia said it was fine." "It wasn't hers to sell," I countered, struggling to keep my voice level. "The title is in my name. That car is legally mine." Vanessa's smile widened. "Well, possession is 9/10 of the law, right? Besides, I've already started fixing it up. If you want it so badly, maybe you could buy it back for, say, $25,000? I realized arguing was pointless. She knew exactly what she was doing. Without another word, I turned and left, driving straight to the local police station. The officer who took my statement, a middle-aged man named Rodriguez, listened attentively but didn't offer much immediate hope. "Since you have the title in your name, you can definitely prove ownership," he explained. "But technically, this falls under civil law rather than criminal. We can try talking to her, but beyond that you might need to pursue legal action." Frustration washed over me. So she just gets to keep a car she knows isn't hers until I navigate the entire legal system? Officer Rodriguez gave me a sympathetic look. "Let me see what I can do. Sometimes an official visit is enough to resolve these situations." We drove to Vanessa's apartment, where Officer Rodriguez explained the legal realities to her. He was firm but professional. "The vehicle is registered in Mr. Edwards' name. The paperwork confirms his ownership. I strongly recommend returning it now to avoid potential legal complications." Vanessa's confident demeanor crumbled under official scrutiny. After some resistance, she reluctantly surrendered the keys, muttering that the ancient heap wasn't worth the trouble anyway. I drove the Shelby home with trembling hands, overwhelmed by relief but still seething with betrayal. When I arrived, Alicia was waiting, arms crossed defensively. "You called the police on my sister?" she demanded incredulously. "You sold my car without permission," I replied, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. "A car worth far more than what Vanessa paid, both financially and emotionally." She threw up her hands. "It's just metal and rubber, Cameron. Vanessa needed transportation, and you're acting like I committed some unforgivable sin." Looking at her, really looking at her, I suddenly saw with perfect clarity what I'd been blind to before. "I want you to leave, Alicia. Tonight." Her expression shifted from indignation to disbelief. "You're kicking me out over a car? Are you serious?" "It's not about the car," I explained, the realization crystallizing as I spoke. "It's about respect. It's about understanding what matters to someone you claim to love. You knew what that Shelby meant to me, and you sold it anyway because you decided your judgment superseded mine. You're throwing away 3 years over some sentimental attachment to a machine?" Her voice rose, equal parts anger and disbelief. "That's insane, Cameron. What's insane is thinking I could build a life with someone who so completely disregards what matters to me," I replied. "Please pack your things and go." Her expression hardened. "You're choosing your dead grandfather's rusty old car over me?" The words struck like physical blows, but they only confirmed I was making the right decision. "No, I'm choosing someone who respected and loved me over someone who clearly doesn't." She stormed off to pack, the sound of drawers slamming and angry muttering filling our once peaceful home. When she emerged with her suitcases, she paused at the door for one final parting shot. "You'll regret this, Cameron. Good luck finding someone who'll put up with your obsession with the past." After she left, the silence felt oppressive. I wandered into the garage and stood before the Shelby, running my fingers along its sleek lines. I'd expected to feel triumphant, vindicated. Instead, I felt hollowed out, like I'd won a battle but discovered the war had cost more than I'd realized. Over the following days, I tried reconnecting with the car, taking it for drives along the coastal highway where my grandfather and I used to cruise. But something had changed. The joy had diminished, tainted by recent events. The Shelby had become not just a symbol of what I'd shared with my grandfather, but also of what I'd lost with Alicia. Not that I missed her exactly. I missed who I thought she was. I missed the relationship I believed we had. Her betrayal had revealed the truth. We'd been living different stories all along. Weeks passed. The Shelby remained in the garage, meticulously maintained but driven less frequently. I found myself focusing more on my marine conservation work, finding solace in the rhythm of the ocean, rather than the purr of an engine. Perhaps that's what healing looks like. Not forgetting what hurt you, but rediscovering what fulfills you. Eventually, I realized something profound. The Shelby wasn't the only legacy my grandfather left me. He also taught me about integrity, about standing up for what matters, about recognizing when something is worth fighting for, and when it's time to let go. Those lessons proved more valuable than any vehicle, no matter how cherished. Life continues its forward momentum, even when we're tempted to dwell in the rearview mirror. The Shelby still sits in my garage, both a connection to my past and a reminder of hard-won wisdom. Be careful who you trust with your keys, both literal and metaphorical. If you've read this far, thanks for joining me on this journey. And remember, when someone dismisses what you hold sacred as worthless or outdated, they're showing you exactly who they are. Believe them the first time. Subscribe for more reflections on life's unexpected detours, or simply to find out what happens next in my ongoing story of oceanic discovery and personal navigation. The road ahead may be uncertain, but with the right companions, it's always worth traveling.